Hello, love wrestling. Good morning. It is Thursday, February 13th, Galentine's Day, some people call it. The day before the Valentine's is for the gals, if you watch Parks and Rec. And it's Galentine's Day today. But anyway, we are here, Thursday, February 13th, firmly AEW. I am alive. We're good. I've had to have Drew bail me out a couple times this week and be like, hey, man, you know all the pre-stuff that I do? Can you do it? Because I am staying on the couch as long as I can. But we're here. We're alive. We got a good episode of Dynamite to talk about. I liked last night's episode of Dynamite.
Boy, do we.
AEW's been, I'm going to say the last month or so, first of all, collisions, oddly enough, have become like, I want to say like the last two or three collisions have been excellent. They've been like really good shows. And I feel like the last month I feel like they're on a good run right now of programming. Is everything perfect? No, we'll dive into it, but I feel like we're getting some good television episodes of AEW. And I feel like we were in a little bit of a stretch before this stretch where we were not. And we were both feeling a certain way about it, but I feel like they've kind of hit a stride here a little bit, and they've kind of found a stride. And I've been very, very much enjoying these shows this last month or so, Drew. I assume that you obviously feel the same from your reaction.
Yeah, it's been quite a few weeks where I was almost dreading having to watch. To now being like, hey, I thought last night was the best Dynamite this year.
It was up there. I think it was very good. I'm excited to talk about it. I think a lot of things happened.
Yeah.
And obviously we have Grand Slam this Saturday. We still don't know what time it's going to start because we don't know, because it's after the NBA All-Star stuff on Saturday, and like that doesn't really have a fluid end time all the time. Good morning, Scott. Thanks for hopping in the chat, my friend. Hope you're well. The NBA All-Star game, it says on the guides of things, it's from 8 to 10:30, but I've been watching that my whole life. I don't think it's ever ended on time ever in the history of my life. So I'm not really sure when Grand Slam will actually be starting. We know it'll be recorded because it's going to be live in Australia when it's like 6 a.m. our time, Drew. It's going to be super early in the morning when they're like taping it and actually doing the show.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to preview a little bit of Grand Slam before we get out of here towards the end of the show. But I think we get right into it. I have my notes because I thought, let me check real quick because
we let's do something here. I want to. What I found as the most fascinating thread throughout the show was what our title is and what our thumbnail will be today, which is what's in the briefcase. A little play, if you know a certain movie that I'm referencing there.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
I was very, very excited for a Death Riders thing today, last night. And I was like, you know what? This is the way. This is the way. This is the most entertaining and happiest I've been with the Death Riders in quite some time. Probably a good 2 to 3 months, maybe.
Okay.
Mm, and while I think it was one of the high points of the show, I think it also ended the show not at a high because they've fallen into that typical thing that, like, every single person that feuds with Jon Moxley does, which is, "Hey, the briefcase, I have it in my possession now, but I'm not gonna open it for some reason."
Well, because the title's not in it
Well, I mean,
in real life.
the although I do have to say, though, what I noticed last night is that that briefcase looks a little different than the briefcases that they've had previously.
Really? I
Why?
didn't notice.
It didn't look like, and I wanna go back and maybe when you're talking about stuff about, because I wanna, like, look at other pictures of that briefcase and see
Mhm.
if it's the same briefcase, because for some reason, it didn't it was just something that struck me last night. I was like, "That doesn't look like the same briefcase they've always been carrying."
Yeah.
So, I could be right, I could be wrong, I don't know, but it was something that, like, I just noticed, and maybe it's because the briefcase hasn't been, like, prominently featured. It's really just been around Marina Shafir's wrist,
Yeah.
handcuffed to her. So maybe that's why it wasn't, like, up in the camera, so much
Mhm.
as it was last night.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm definitely gonna go back and see other pictures of that briefcase and see if maybe that's not the same one.
Okay. I mean, to me, it looked
Uh,
like the same one, just this gray, boring looking briefcase. It didn't look like there was anything different, but just like a gray, stupid, normal looking briefcase. But maybe. What do you think? It was bigger or smaller or a different?
I think it was bigger,
All
actually.
right.
I don't know, it looked like a, and maybe, you know what? Maybe that could be because of what happens to the briefcase. Maybe it was a different
Yeah, it could have been
briefcase.
bigger because of what we saw happen. So,
So that could be, I don't know, but I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna go back and look and see if
All right.
there have been other briefcases in the past.
Yeah.
Um, I loved and laughed out loud when Moxley and Marina Shafir are walking in the back, and Marina just takes this hard right and goes to a doorway. And then, like, 3 seconds goes by, and Moxley's in the doorway, and then all of a sudden, here comes Cope with a gigantic chair, just bam, right to the back. And they just, for that, and it was just one chair shot, mind you.
Yeah.
And then he's down for, like, the entire time that they're getting bolt cutters and taking it, to the chain that connects Marina Shafir's wrist on the briefcase.
Mhm.
And then they do nothing with it. That's the main problem. It's like, because the three men, Hangman, Orange Cassidy, who we haven't seen in some time,
Mhm.
I wonder why, and, and Jay White were in the ring together at one point, and that briefcase was there.
Yeah.
And instead of going, "Hey, well, maybe we should open this briefcase," they were all just fighting to grab it, and then
Yeah.
eventually the numbers game, and then the briefcase goes back to the Death Riders.
Yeah.
Last night was the first time, I think, in the entirety of the Death Riders that the briefcase was handled the way that it was handled.
It's fair.
But there's a couple of the reason why I'm focusing on this briefcase
I was
today.
gonna say this happened way later in the show. This happened
Yeah,
later in the
I
show.
I don't care about the going in order bullshit.
I
Uh,
mean, I do, but that's okay.
the what I think, because I think this is a very important point. This may be one of the most important points of the entire show. Why would you tease I kind of want to just get the negative thing out of the way first because I really love the rest of the show. Why would you tease opening the briefcase to a very, very supportive crowd that wants you to open the briefcase? And then instead of opening the briefcase, you want Moxley to come out first. Just open the briefcase.
Yeah, but I mean, it's wrestling. They're not going to do that. They're going to make the crowd want it for more. You know?
But then the worst part is that he then wants to destroy the briefcase in order to open it. What if you damage the title inside? As because kayfabe, the title is in there.
It still is, apparently.
Now you're taking this gigantic wooden spiked up thing. I think it was called Spike, and you're nailing the briefcase with it. You're going to destroy the briefcase. There's a coveted prize inside.
What we think there's a coveted prize inside.
Well, I mean, in
the story, they're telling us there's a yes. We haven't seen the coveted prize since friggin' October.
This was the part of the show that confused me the most, and unfortunately, it was the end of the show because why you're showing the crowd, yeah, we're gonna get this open now, and everybody's cheering and really happy, and then instead of just clicking the thing open. Well, I guess maybe you couldn't click it open because it was locked.
Yeah. I think that was part of it.
Your decision is to destroy the briefcase.
Yeah, I mean, with Scott in the chat says that he needs to use it for leverage. He was using it for leverage to get his world title match because he still did not receive his world title match until Moxley finally granted it to him last night. So he was using that as really leverage. That's why he wanted Moxley out there. Like, it wasn't because he didn't want to open the briefcase. It was because, hey, I'm still looking for you to accept my world title proposition to you that you have not. So I have what you want. Get out here and give me my world title match, which Moxley did. And then it kind of went into, okay, I'm going to destroy the briefcase now. But I think the whole first half of that was he was using that to get Moxley, like Scott said, as leverage to get Moxley out there to get his world. Because at the end of the day, that's all Copeland cares. He doesn't care about he just wants his world title match. So he'll do whatever he has to do to get his world title match, and holding that briefcase hostage and using it as leverage or using it to draw Moxley out. Okay, hey, I got what you want. You're going to give me what I want. And I don't remember the actual verbiage. I don't know if it was he couldn't open the briefcase because it is locked with a key. Like, it's not just one you can flip open. You got a key and they have handcuffs.
That part was never addressed. It was just, oh, come out here. Oh, I'm going to destroy this briefcase. And then he came out there and then he destroyed the briefcase anyway.
Yeah.
But then
I don't know.
But then it always becomes like a thing where they just leave it. This is the part that bothers me the most. It's like, okay, you go to destroy the briefcase, but then, and just like with the other three men that I mentioned before, why are you just leaving it there? Just take it with you.
Yeah. I mean, they were getting attacked 4-on-2, so I feel like it's not, you know what I mean? Like, they had the briefcase and then all of a sudden all the Death Riders are down there. And they're all coming in from different angles and distracting them, and then it's just kind of, At what point do you have to?
It's kind of like it's becoming like stupid babyface syndrome, though. Like, obviously,
yeah. At AEW's had that problem with this Death Riders angle the whole time. All the babyfaces have been made to look like fucking idiots the whole time.
Yeah,
the Death Riders have been doing the same thing. Last night, I don't get me wrong, I thought last night was cool. But like, the Death Riders have been doing the same thing for months and months and months. They come out, they attack, and then people come out and they run off. It's the same thing. There's been no new things that have happened except last night when they got a hold of the briefcase. That was the first new thing that's happened on a Death Riders angle since the Death Riders.
It wasn't even, the new thing wasn't even that somebody else got a hold of the briefcase. The new thing is that the briefcase was heavily dented and almost destroyed by Moxley. I mean, So, but that like teasing the briefcase and then destroying the briefcase. I don't know. That
Look,
I,
they're not fighting till Revolution, man. We still got a month before they're
yeah, like
fighting. They're not
what
going to
was
do it now.
I don't. They have to do. They're going to have a tag match at
On Saturday. Yeah.
Saturday. So why not do this after the tag match?
I don't know. I mean, I guess because they want. Look at the way that I see it is they wanted the official world title match to be booked before Grand Slam.
Because this whole night, the whole point of the Death Riders and Adam Copeland and Jay White, aside from the I'll say John Moxley and Marina Shafir.
Yeah, because the Death Riders had
White.
some good stuff happen earlier in the evening.
The whole point of that was to get to Revolution, but
the whole point of that was to get Copeland his world title match. That was the whole point, and Jay White is obviously helping Adam do that. So, yeah, that was the whole point to me. Why you needed to do that now instead of waiting until I don't know.
What I would have done is I would have said, okay, here's what we do. They'll do like a segment in the ring and discussing the important show that's coming up on Saturday, which if you notice, they hardly even referenced.
Yeah.
And not, I mean, the company, the commentators were referencing it, but Moxley didn't reference it, and Copeland didn't really reference it. And Jay White, I think, was like one of the only people.
He was the only one, yeah.
So, yeah, the whole booking of that show too. That could be a whole podcast of its own. But yeah, I just was confused at this whole like we're booking because this is what they've been doing for kind of like almost a month now. While the shows have been good, the confusion with Grand Slam has really been, what is this show? And why is it barely being referenced on television?
Because it's a massive failure for AEW. That's why. This was supposed to be at. This was supposed to be at. Well, no, but this was supposed to be at a huge stadium in Australia, and they barely sold 5,000 tickets, and they had to move it to a smaller. Like this is, like, don't get me wrong, they're going to make it a good show, but this was a massive failure by AEW. They thought they were going to sell out a stadium, and they barely can fit an arena. So I think that's part of it. They built this up as this big thing. They're going to go to this big 50,000 seat stadium, and they sold less than 10,000 tickets. I think maybe even less than 5. And they had to move it to this small little building in Australia. Don't get me wrong. I think the card is really good. I think the show is going to be good, but I think there's really been a downplay on it, an AEW standpoint, because it turned out to be not what they were expecting it to be. And I think that is a massive part of it, personally. I feel
I would say it definitely is a part of it. I don't want to say it's the whole. I mean, because listen, and I haven't seen like what the ticket sales are for this, but I think it's almost a sellout now at the new building that they picked. If I remember reading something correctly,
which I'm glad for. Don't get me wrong, but
of course, yes. But at the same time, even though I mean, I wouldn't say it was a failure. Getting that building may have been a failure, but that doesn't make the whole Grand Slam in Australia a failure. It's just
no, and I think if they have a good show and it does well, maybe things bounce up. But like I'm just saying, like, they had to, at one point, to try to sell tickets, they had to give 2-for-1 offers because it was so bad of selling tickets. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not knocking the company. We came on here saying that we think they're on a great run here this last month or so with shows, but like the ticket sales to Grand Slam were so poor that they literally had to give tickets away to fill the building. 2-for-1. That's giving tickets away.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That's unfortunate.
especially when you built this as we are going to be in a huge ass stadium, like all in like stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to give tickets away.
Yeah.
Not good.
It's not good. No. Thankfully, oh, by the way, Sandy.
And I see Lawrence. Yeah, I see other people in the chats. Lawrence, Ryan, obviously Sandy.
By the
Lawrence.
way, yes, Ryan, this is curtain sitting right in front of a window. But I never thought of it being like a theater curtain before. It is red like a theater curtain.
It is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was kind of like the lowest point for me of the show, because aside from everything else, I really, really, really enjoyed this show more than I expected to when I hit play and started the show last night when I got home.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think for me, we're going to talk about her because she's my favorite part of AEW currently, to be honest with you. But I think for me, I enjoyed the whole show, but I'm still kind of half in, half out on this Death Rider stuff. So, like, I like, don't get me wrong, I like Adam Copeland. I like it. I have no interest in him fighting for the world title. None.
Oh, neither do I.
Yeah, so, like, even though I thought last night was kind of, all right, yeah, cool, like, I just have no interest in it, so I'm not really invested emotionally in it at all.
The guy standing next to him.
Yes. That's what I feel like it should be. And I don't know if something will come out of it on the Copeland and Jay White side of things. I'm not sure. Yeah, Lawrence is saying that the Collision show that was at the Bell Center in Montreal was the emptiest he's ever seen the Bell Center. He says it bums me out that AEW in Montreal sold pretty badly.
When was that launch? I don't remember when that was.
Yeah, I don't either. Collision, I think, is going to sell less than Dynamite no matter what. But
they're trying to really beef up Collision, which I'm very much appreciating.
I would say the last 3 weeks or so of Collision have been like, you're missing some legitimate shit if you're missing Collision. Like, and I think that's what they need to build Collision back to being. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, another night of must-watch wrestling, it just adds to the, you know, and I don't say this negatively because I love watching wrestling, but, you know, I, for the most part, Drew, even though I know we talk about AEW on Thursdays, I don't watch Collision live. I haven't watched Collision live in months because I don't fucking need to, because nothing was happening on that show for half a fucking year.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And so I would to pull back the curtain. I am, if you watched Firmly WWE and you noticed, hey, Drew didn't plug Super Chats and Humper Chats for Collision post show on Fightful. I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah. So I did not watch Collision on Saturday for the first time since Collision started. Yeah. And it was weird. I'm going to be honest with you.
But this Collision was really good. You should have watched.
I know that the ironic thing is now it's getting good. It was
excellent.
Not friggin' covering it anymore.
Yeah.
But it's I will go back and watch it though, because I read that it's been
very good.
Right. And yeah, I mean, the past couple of weeks, like you said, it's picked up. It's funny. It feels like ever since Timeless Tony Storm came back.
And they did that angle on Collision.
On Collision, yes.
With her and Mariah May. And they did that great angle. And everyone was like, oh shit, they did that on Collision? Why would they do that on Collision? And then guess what? Since then, the 3 collisions that have followed that have been very good episodes of television, because it was almost like they knew that was going to get people to turn into Collision maybe. And they were like, we should probably put some care into this show, because the last couple of weeks have been very good. I'm not going to dive into detail, but Kyle Fletcher fought Mark Briscoe on Collision this past week. Excellent. Bandito versus Brian Keith. Excellent. It was so good. We're going to talk about one part of that match that when it happened on Saturday was awesome. And then in typical Chris Jericho fashion, he had to fucking ruin it last night. He was like, oh, that was a cool spot. Well, let me go do it now. And it wasn't as cool. Jericho, mind your fucking business. But on that, it is what it is. But Bandito versus Brian Keith was excellent. They did that standoff, that draw, that duel type spot in that match, which got the crowd losing its mind. I loved it. I thought it was the best part of that match.
That was like the most shared thing on social media.
It was incredible. It was incredible. It was so good. They had a few great trios matches on Collision. It was just really, really good. Harley Cameron had that concert, which was excellent. Harley Cameron is just killing it. She's just absolutely killing it.
I will be spending more time on her when we get
to this. Yeah. Oh, we will. She had a great concert that they did there that was very entertaining. There were a couple things that didn't need to be there. Like, I don't need to see Dustin Rhodes squashing someone. Like, I know he was fighting MJF last night, and we're obviously going to talk about that. But, like, I don't need Dustin Rhodes in a squash match on Collision. Like, I don't care. I know he's fighting MJF, but he's been wrestling for 40. I've seen everything I need to see from Dustin Rhodes. You don't need to impress me to try to build him up for a match when I've seen him wrestle for 40 years. Like, he's just not. I thought that was unnecessary. They're starting to feature Megan Bain, the new signing. She's excellent. On Collision, they featured her really good. She had a squash match, and then she came out and she attacked Thunder Rosa. And then we saw last night she's dealing with another former champion that looks like they're building towards. So they got some good stuff going on. So I feel like, it's a Saturday night. If you want to go have a Saturday night, go have a Saturday night. But I would DVR Collision and I would start to pay attention to it because it's been pretty good this last month or so. Right. But all right, let's dive into kind of the rest of Dynamite. So the show started, Drew, and Platinum Max Caster is in the ring. He's holding a certificate for his trademark as the best wrestler alive. And he's having his open challenge. So he's in there. He's got his trademark. He's doing all this fun stuff. And this open challenge tonight is accepted by Hangman Adam Page. And immediately, Caster is like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And he books it out of the ring. He actually goes into the crowd and like just sits down in a seat with a sign, like he's trying to hide himself, which I thought was funny. Yeah. And then Hangman gets in the ring. He kind of looks around and he looks at the ref. He goes, where is he? And then you can see the crowd is like, he's over there. And Hangman finally sees him and he's like, all right. So he goes and they run through the crowd a little bit and then he gets him. And then this was a glorified squash match. Caster got a couple things at the beginning. He had a nice Hurricane Rana off the top rope. That was really the highlight of it for him. And then Hangman just took over. He hit him with three or four straight lariats. He hit him with the sliding lariat. And then he went out on the apron and he hit him with the buckshot lariat. And that was over real quick.
It was exactly what it needed to.
I agree. I thought it was very good. And that's how this show started. Nice and easy squash match by Hangman over Caster.
And here's a very important thing to note. The crowd is they've been for a couple weeks now, even though he's been a prick. But the crowds have been very hot for Hangman.
Oh, yeah.
And he's now kind of accepting it again for the first time in a while. Like the crowd was cheering at the end of this, and he gets up on the ramp, on the ring, the ropes, like feed me your energy. This is what babyface do. This is not what heels do.
Oh, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
It's been like for the past 3 weeks or so, 3 weeks to about a month, slowly starting to go back. And what's going to be really fascinating about this is when he realizes that this is what he hated Swerve for. Fair. When that light bulb goes off?
Well, him and
very, very, very interested to see how Hangman reacts to that.
Well, I think him and Swerve are going to end up teaming up. I feel like that's where they're going here.
You think so?
Yeah. I think him and Swerve are going to be part of the group that takes down the Death Riders.
Oh,
I think it's going to be, I don't know who that final group will be, but I think it's going to be Hangman, Swerve, and then we'll kind of see who the other people are. But yeah, I have a feeling because he's been looking for Swerve. You know, he's been looking for, not last night he wasn't, but he's been looking for Swerve a little bit. He's been they've been referencing Swerve with him. I feel like we're going to get a Hangman Swerve team of sorts. All right. We then had the Death Riders, the other three Death Riders, Claudio, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta, defending their trios championships against the Undisputed Kingdom, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. This was the first time the trios titles had been defended since November. First time in 2025. This was hopefully this is the start of them defending them more because they need to be defended more. But this was a very good match. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong, they're just the chemistry that they have as a group. It really is. It's just amazing. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen them do this in multiple different companies. We've seen them be together in multiple different companies, and they're just great together. You can tell they like teaming with each other. You can tell they're real, the relationships they have are real. Yeah. I love this. I love this match. I thought this match was really good. There were multiple times in this match that I actually thought that they were going to win the trios titles. I thought it was going to happen. But at the end, as always happens, we get some confusion with the Death Riders and the refs and all this stuff. And then Wheeler Yuta, that little bastard. I know Pac's the bastard, but Wheeler Yuta, he just looks like a piece of crap, doesn't he?
He just looks so sad and
sad. I think he looks like a scumbag with the hair and the beard. He just looks like you want to punch him.
When he comes out, he's always dark brooding.
He just to me
under the hair of the eyes.
Yeah,
he just looks like. And somebody on commentary mentioned, I don't know if it was Tony Schiavone or Excalibur, one of them mentioned how they felt bad for him because he was, or to them at least, to whomever it was that was saying this, he was being forced to do all this stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know about that. It seemed like that in the beginning before.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Wheeler Yuta?
Yeah.
He's completely embraced. Yeah. Once he turned and officially joined them, he's been a rap bastard. He knows what he's doing. He's in on it.
Yeah. No,
at the beginning they were playing it off like he was torn. But once he made the decision to join the Death Riders, I think that I haven't thought that they were kind of teasing. I thought he's been a full-on piece of crap.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't know why somebody had mentioned that on commentary. I don't know if they're maybe gonna. I thought that my first initial thought when they said that was, oh, is he going to be the reason why they lose tonight? And then,
yeah,
maybe, yeah, exactly. Seems pretty willing to me, Scott.
Yeah. And Ryan, I'm right there with you. I was cheering for Undisputed Kingdom to win as well. That would have been nice. But again, the Death Rider story is, the fact that they defended the trios titles, that's a step up to me because it's the first time since November. That's 4 months, dude. That's 4 months. Last time I checked,
another 4 months.
And exactly. And last time I checked, I know this is not a rule in all of wrestling, but there used to be rules in some companies that if you didn't defend your title in 30 days, you got stripped of your title. And these guys are going 4 months. 4 months without defending it. Come on. What are we doing? But
very recently in that other company, Judgment Day didn't defend
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I'm just saying there used to be rules. ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, but I agree with Ryan. Just defend the titles regularly. Shouldn't be hard to do.
Yeah.
Just, every other week, just defend them regularly. They're belts. That's, So
By the
Wheeler,
way, if y'all want to just really quickly, I just want to say, because we're about 35 minutes into this, if you guys really, really enjoy us and you also want to support us because, hey, it would be lovely, if you can, of course. You could send us a super chat, and of course, we will put your comments on the screen, and we'll spend some time on it if you want to give a question or you want to, talk about something on the show that you want to have us spend a little bit of time on. Absolutely, 100%. Please send us a super chat. We will really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we thank you and we love you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wheeler Yuta hits a low blow and he rolls up Kyle O'Reilly. Death Riders retain. And then after the match, the Death Riders are attacking the Kingdom. And Daniel Garcia and 2.0 make the save and they run him off. And that's how this ends. So you want to talk about titles being defended. When is Daniel Garcia going to start defending his title and have a feud? Why is he involved in?
Didn't he just defend it like 2 weeks ago?
Maybe, but where's the story? I need to again, what's he doing? He's running out here, running off the Death Riders. Okay, so you're going to have your TNT champion involved in trios champion stuff?
Right.
What about his title? Can his title be something different? And then the trios titles are being defended. Why? What? And I understand he has a history with the Death Riders, Garcia, 100%. I get that. But it's can Daniel Garcia? Oh, there we go. Ryan Sullivan coming in hot. Says Mox has to have changed the belt, right?
So, Sully, thank you so much for this. And I'm going to let you know, for a good 3 months or so, the both of us were pretty much booking Jack Perry to come back and join the Death Riders and make his own, like how he had done the TNT title.
Yep.
My original thought, which JPJ signed off on, was that in the briefcase, the reason why we weren't seeing that title, the AEW World title, is because he gave it to Jack Perry, the sweet kid that he referenced being when he had first started the Death Riders.
Yep.
And they had that little interaction in the back. And then it just never happened.
Yeah.
I was upset about that. I don't know now what's been going on with Jack Perry because he's just not.
Yeah, he hasn't been around either. I don't know. But you mentioned somebody earlier. Again, we're kind of bouncing everywhere. But you mentioned somebody earlier that we haven't seen in a while, and that's one Orange Cassidy. I think there's a chance that Orange Cassidy comes back and joins the Death Riders. But I'll leave that for another day. But I think that's a strong possibility. That's been floating around in my brain that he comes back and he joins the Death Riders.
So what could be? So you know what? Ryan and JPJ both just gave me this thought right now. So we were doing the whole thing with Jack Perry coming in and doing that. But now because you just said Orange Cassidy's name, remember who has been very famously holding a title in a bag?
Yeah.
Aside from the briefcase situation right now, and that's Mr. Orange Cassidy. Because every time he had a title, he would have his little JanSport bag and he'd take it out, and he's kind of treated like crap, to be honest with you. He didn't really take care of the title very much when it was in the bag. But what would be a very interesting thing if Orange Cassidy was to join the Death Riders is somewhat similar to the same idea of Jack Perry. He comes out with his JanSport bag after they've now officially opened up the briefcase, and it turns out the championship has just never been in there this whole time. And then Orange Cassidy comes in, and he joins the Death Riders, turns on whomever. I'm gonna assume it would be maybe it's gonna be Jay White, Cope, maybe Daniel Garcia involvement. He comes in, he joins the Death Riders, and he's got his JanSport bag. And in the JanSport bag is maybe a new AEW title, or I just feel like the Death Riders, if we're going past Revolution with the Death Riders and Jon Moxley holding the title, it's about time. We've got it. I mean, I said this at World's End. I said at World's End it was going to be about time, and it's been 2 months since World's End.
Yeah.
So it'll really be overdue to just have a title. And I know Moxley a couple of weeks ago really had a really good promo on the championship really being within you and it not having to be represented by a physical title. But this is a wrestling business. To not see the physical prize that every man in the company wants to fight for, or should want to fight for and hold. It's just weird. It's very weird to not see the world title for this long.
Yeah. And we got Sunday Sinner coming in with a nice super chat. Thank you, my friend. He says the Death Riders need to just end. I was excited thinking of Perry or someone else joining at the beginning, but now I just want it to be over. It is not I think that he's supposed to say salvageable or savable. Salvageable, same thing. It's not savable, salvageable at this point. That I'm more aligned with Sinner there. I like the people involved in the Death Riders. I like, I think Cope and Mox will be a fine match, even though I don't care for it really. I think the tag match on Saturday is actually going to be really good. I think this is fine. I don't care. And I know obviously everybody, and I know you've been harping on the title. I don't even care. I'm to the point now that I don't even care that we haven't seen the title.
That hurts.
I don't even care. I don't even care. I literally don't. I'm just so if I honestly, if I had the pencil, this has gone the way it has, I would have Copeland beat Moxley at Revolution. And then I would have Christian cash in on Copeland. And then that would be it.
Yeah, that was Christian holding that contract has also been
on the back burner.
Not referenced. It's been a non sequitur, really. He's never going to cash it in on John. Oh, well, actually, that's not true because he did try to cash it in on Jon Moxley once, which I thought was really strange. It's why are we doing that? You don't have to do that. It should have been for Darby, Mr. Mount Rushmore. But
to me, right now, I feel like the way they're building it, it's very odd because the whole time I've been sitting here and I've been going, when they first started this, I was like, oh, Darby's going to be the guy. The way they set that up, I'm like, oh, it's going to be Darby. They're going to pull the trigger and they're actually going to give Darby his first heavyweight title. And Darby's going to be the guy that saves AEW. He's kind of been the reckless Mr. AEW guy, since the beginning. He's really never been a bad guy. He's always been a good guy. The crowd has always dug him. It's going to be Darby. And then all of a sudden, Darby, like Jack Perry, like Orange Cassidy, we haven't seen for months. Now, I know Everest and all that stuff, he's doing other things, and which is all fine. That is his life choices. He's allowed to do that. But a part of me is just well, if we look at it now, who is the guy that takes it off Moxley? Because it has to be somebody. Now, any of those three guys could come back at any time. But I don't think Orange Cat they did that already. It's not going to be Orange Cassidy. It's not going to be Jack Perry. So, I mean,
it's not going to be Jay White.
It's not going to be Jay White. Could be Cope, but like right now, when I'm looking at the landscape, it should be fucking Hangman. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, I know they're building towards something with Hangman and someone else that I'm very much looking forward to. I thought that was that's the next thing we're going to talk about because it was a backstage segment. But
yes.
I thought this is the MJF I need to see. This is the MJF I need to see.
This was the best MJF looked in all year so far.
I thought last night's MJF in total, that's the MJF I need to see, not the guy that's, cracking wise and going after senior citizens and old people. Like, I need to see the guy that's cutting deep to Hangman Adam Page in the back and saying some dark, deep shit. Like, that's the MJF that I need. Because Renee did interview MJF, and he says that Texas isn't a real state. I don't disagree. And then he says that Dustin Rhodes isn't a real man. And he tells him that he should get down on his hands and knees, pray to the devil, blah, 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 blah. And then Adam Page rolls up, and he tells MJF to get out. It's his interview. And then Max goes, hey, man, I don't know. He goes, you smell great. That made me laugh. He goes, I didn't know Jack Daniels made cologne. And then Hangman kind of goes, 5 years, and that's the best you got, man? 5 years. It's the best you get.
But what I really liked about that is that instead of Max continuing to do hokey
no, he got serious. He got serious.
That's what snapped him into seriousness, and I liked it a lot.
Yep. He immediately changed gears. He says, whatever this is, man, he goes, this is not Hangman. He goes, this is not you. He goes, you don't have the stomach for this. He goes, you're a joke. You're a punchline. He goes, and the punchline is that these losers, these people out there actually believe in you. He says, if anybody deserves an apology, no, he goes, and if any, what the hell does my note say? He goes, and if anybody deserves an apology, I fucked up my thing. Whatever. He basically just says that he's going to go out there and he's going to take care of Dustin Rhodes and do what Page has failed to do. And that is become a 2-time AEW World Champion. Really, really enjoyed this. Really, really, really enjoyed this. This is the type of MJF stuff that I need. Is look at MJF has always taken those low brow things, and he always does that. But then he always flips a switch and he gets serious and he starts talking, and it is what it is because he backs it up in the ring. And I feel like the last month or so of MJF, it's been all the lowbrow shit. There hasn't been that other side. And I know he was going against Jeff Jarrett and Dustin Rhodes. So how serious can he get when you're going against those guys? But at the same time, like that promo that he cut when he kind of switched gears right there and he got serious, I was like, that's the MJF I need to see. I need to see that MJF way more often. And we're getting at Revolution, it's going to be MJF and Hangman. That's what they're doing. And that match is going to be special.
And that match is going to be special. Like Will Ospreay is there and Kenny Omega is there and they deserve world title runs. I think you got to strap the damn rocket to Hangman right now. I think he should be the one to defeat Moxley. 100%, like you're saying. Like they're saying, it's the whole thing with like Christian and as much as we don't want to see Adam Copeland with the world title, I don't want to see Christian with the world title either. As much as I love his current gimmick as the Patriarch, I love it. I don't want to see him as champion. I don't think that. I mean, they could have done it on that show when he won the contract and didn't, usually like dragging it out a little bit. But I don't think that the original purpose of him winning the contract was to win the championship. I think it was for Luchasaurus to turn on him and make him lose.
Potentially, yeah. That would have been
what made the most sense from last year's World's End. I'm sorry, 2 years ago's World End, the first one that I went to in Long Island, and I was there, and Cope won the TNT title, and then Luchasaurus Killswitch comes out with his contract for the TNT title, and Christian forces him to hand it to Christian so that he can win the TNT title, which is what happened.
Yep.
So I was like, well, this is obviously playing off of that. It's playing off of that because they've been teasing for, they go on and off. They were going on and off at that time. Luchasaurus switching back, getting frustrated, running out of the ring and not helping Christian when he needed it. And then they do the segments where he'd berate him and he wouldn't do anything about it. And it just seemed like he was helping him win. So that this way, when he went to cash in on whether it be Moxley, Danielson, whomever at that time, when he went to cash in, that's when the official turn was going to happen, and then he would be he would lose. Christian would lose as a result of Luchasaurus turning on him.
Yeah.
So, that's what I think what the plan was. I mean, just going from logic and what we were seeing at that time, it seemed like that was what was going to be the case. And then, of course, Luchasaurus got sick and hasn't been around. And I think he's actually been doing a little better, thankfully. I think I saw a report.
Yeah, I saw something that said he's doing all right.
Which is good. So that's very good. But yeah, Christian with this, I don't want to see him as the world title guy either. I don't want to see, when you've got these like younger stars that are like really hot right now in Will Ospreay, in Hangman, in Swerve, in Darby, Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, not doing it for me.
It's fair. It's fair. We then had a squash match. It was a trio squash match. It was Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata defeating Aaron Solo, John Cruz, and Rosario Grillo. Grillo? I don't know. Grillo. They handled them very quickly. And then after the match, Samoa Joe got on the microphone. He introduced the other two as his brothers, and he said, week after week, we come out here, and the world asks what this is about. And he goes, and what you see before you is three men that constantly have misunderstandings, and the only answer is violence. And then he starts talking about Christian Cage and the patriarchy. He says, think this could have been real simple, Christian. You could have just taken an ass whooping like a man, but you continue to hide from us. And since you're too much of a chicken ass to show up tonight, chicken ass, he says. And then Joe goes, "Bakak," which I thought was funny. And then he challenges the patriarchy to a match next week, a trios match, and he referred to them. So I think their name is he called them the Ops.
Yeah, the Ops.
The Ops.
I like that name.
So that's going to be their new name again.
Obviously, meaning opposition. That's
Ops,
for people that may not know. Opposition.
Yeah. So the Ops again, another trio team that they've officially given a name to. That feels like they're going to probably stick in that trios thing there, which I'm okay with. Especially if hopefully,
I really like these three together.
Yeah, and hopefully, if we start like defending the trios titles more and like doing the trios titles proper, you have this group, you have the Undisputed Kingdom, you have the champions. On Collision, we saw there were 3 different trios matches on Collision. With Roosh and his group were in one of them. Like Roosh teamed up with some people in one of them, and like you have these trios. You have these trios teams there. You have a good division. You can really have a good trios division if you want. They haven't done anything really. And it feels like hopefully last night and making, they can move forward and have start to put some more focus on the trios division, because you could have a really good division there. Renee Paquette is backstage with Chris Jericho. Brian Keith is also there. She references how he paid double the ransom or the reward for Brian Keith, but Brian Keith came up short on Collision. So Jericho says, "Hey, I'd pay double or triple to get Bandito out of AEW." He goes, "But I'm not mad at Brian that he didn't get the job done." He goes, "We don't yell at each other here. We learn." And then he says, "And I'm going to show Brian how things work." He goes, "Because I'm going to go out and collect the bounty on Bandito tonight, because I'm challenging him to a showdown." And then as he walks away, Brian Keith looks at Renee and he goes, "Don't you ever embarrass me in front of Chris Jericho again," which I thought was funny. And then Renee's just kind of looking at the camera like, she's like half laughing. That was good. That was funny. Then we come back from commercial, Drew, and we have Renee Paquette backstage again. And she's talking to Willow. I feel like we haven't seen Willow in a little bit. She's talking to Willow. And basically out of nowhere, Marina Shafir appears. She kicks her, and then she's choking her out. And she kind of hits her into, like, I don't know what that thing was that she threw her into.
Yeah, I thought it was lights at first, but
I thought it was too. It was like a light blue. It looked like lights, but I don't know what that was. Yeah, it was very weird. But she threw her head first into that. She leaves, and then Moxley's kind of right there in the camera. He calls Adam Copeland pathetic, and he says, "You're a dead man walking." And then he just kind of, that's how that ends. So Moxley's just pissed. Okay, now we're going to get into, so Chris Jericho makes his entrance, Drew. Bandito makes his entrance. I am loving Bandito. Loving Bandito since he's been back. I am all in on this. They come out. They go back to back, and they do the pace thing to the corner. They turn around for their showdown. They take their hats off, but Brian Keith gets Bandito's feet from behind him, the little sneaky guy, and they end up beating down Bandito. And then the Outrunners come out to make the save. So they're kind of the Outrunners are kind of dealing with Jericho and Keith, and Bandito's kind of like recovering in the ring. And then we see Big Bill. And Big Bill walks out, and he's holding the reward sign. And it looks like he's going to cash in and get that bounty. And he gets in there, and he sets Bandito up for a choke slam. He even lifts him. And when he lifts him, we hear Powerhouse Hobbs music. Big Bill drops Bandito, and then we get them two squaring off again. They beat each other down. And then it turns into a spine buster from Hobbs onto Big Bill, because Bandito helps him a little bit. And Powerhouse Hobbs stands tall in the ring over Big Bill, and Bandito is in there celebrating with him again. Listen, here's the thing, Drew. I liked this segment. I very much liked this segment, but to me, I don't know. I was watching that match on Collision with Brian Keith and Bandito, and I was just very thrilled that Brian Keith was having a one-on-one match and like showcasing who he is, because he's great. And they did that spot with the duel, and it just felt so organic, and it was so different.
It really did.
And it was so different and organic that it was just one of those things to me where I was like, that was really cool. Like, that was really cool. Wait, how do I?
Yeah, I was trying to do that myself, and I think that's something somebody has to do on Twitch.
Oh, it's a Twitch one.
Yeah.
But anyway, what do you call it? It was just so organic in the match, and the crowd popped, and I popped, and it was so good. And then I feel like, okay, they did something cool. Like you said, it was the most shared clip of Collision. Like, it was clearly a very cool moment that everybody was like, yo, that was dope. That was like a really cool thing they did in that match. That was cool. And then they just turn around and they just, like, I just didn't feel like that was like, I don't know. It just felt to me that like Jericho was like, oh, that was really cool. I want to do that. Let me go do that because I'm Chris Jericho. I want to do it.
I mean, probably that's what we're supposed to feel, because this whole iteration of Chris has been, I get my TV time and I interfere in things that the crowd likes because I'm meta, and you're supposed to boo me because I'm doing the thing that you don't want me to do.
Yeah. But with that being said, I still, like I said, I still very much enjoyed the segment. I liked how they did the cheap thing with Brian Keith kind of grabbing his leg, and it led to, like, heel stuff. And then, like, Fernando even says Hobbs versus Big Bill are having a great story between two big. I agree. I very much like the Hobbs and Big Bill stuff. That's clearly not ending, which I am more than good with. I love the Bandito versus Chris Jericho thing. I think Bandito should beat Chris Jericho for that Ring of Honor title. That's where I'm at now. I think that Bandito should 100% be the guy that beats Jericho for that title. Yeah, I mean, again, I very much enjoyed the segment. It felt to me, and maybe like you're right. Maybe that is how we're supposed to feel. But it felt to me that this was something that it was like, oh, that was a really cool thing. Okay, well, damn it, I'm Chris Jericho. It shouldn't be Brian Keith that gets the cool stuff. It should be me. But again, that could be by design. But that's how I felt about it. But the segment itself, I loved. And then we already talked about the Adam Copeland Switchblade stuff. They did cut a promo at Moxley. They said they have a canvas that has to be painted with blood. Copeland, and this I actually liked because he was holding the briefcase, and Copeland goes, I've actually carried a briefcase like this 1 or 2 times in my career. And that made me laugh because I was like, yeah, he was the first Money in the Bank guy. So that makes sense. I thought that was a nice little, like, hey, all right, like, I thought that was good. Nice little one-liner.
Yeah. Hello, Cobra. Nice to see you.
Yes, nice to see you. New to our channel. Yeah, we are Love Wrestling here. We have content throughout the week. What you're watching now is firmly AEW. Me and Drew are here every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 10 a.m. We talk WWE on Tuesdays. We talk AEW on Thursdays. And then we have shows throughout the week. I'll be back here tonight, 8 p.m. for Between Two Beards. We have a Sunday brunch on Sunday afternoon. So give a follow to the channel, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. We got a lot of good content. And we also have a wrestling promotion, Love Pro Wrestling, where we release matches on YouTube almost daily. Like, a lot of good stuff here, man. So welcome in, Cobra. Hopefully you'll be sticking around with us, man. Okay. So, yeah. And he says, yeah, I've held this briefcase a few times. And he goes, but you know what? He goes, he's held titles a few times. He goes, he asks if Moxley's people are going to follow him if he doesn't have the belt. And then he says, if you want it back, you just got to meet me in the ring later on tonight. And then obviously we already talked about kind of the end segment of the show and what happened there. So we come back from commercial, Drew. We have a small little interview with Dustin Rhodes where he tells MJF that he's the devil and that he's going to kick his ass, and that he's going to realize that he's the last, and he's going to find out why Dustin Rhodes is the last of his kind. Okay. And then we had Dustin Rhodes versus MJF. I thought this match was pretty good, Drew. I thought this match was pretty good. Again, I feel like
okay. New. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw Cobra's.
Oh, you're new to pro wrestling in general.
And since AEW started streaming on Max, very interesting.
All right. I assume you're not the only one like that. But that's good.
Tag Tony Khan on a tweet on Twitter, and he'll be really happy about that.
He will. I like this match. I thought this match was good, but I thought this match was too long.
Yeah, that's what happens with.
I don't need Dustin Rhodes fighting that long. Dustin Rhodes versus MJF
Rhodes fights like he's 20 years younger for some reason. Or not that he fights like he's 20 years younger. They pace the match like he's 20 years younger.
Yeah, and like, to me, I was just kind of
should be able to put him down in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And nothing against Dustin Rhodes. I'm very much enjoying his last run in his career right now. But like MJF taking like a 12, 15 minutes with Dustin Rhodes.
MJF should have handled Dustin Rhodes in 5 minutes. And I get it. Dustin Rhodes is a Hall of Famer. He's been doing it for 40 years. He's been good for 40 years. I get it. But MJF is MJF. He is, top of the top. He is, arguably at one, like last year, he was the face of the company. Like, it shouldn't take him 15 minutes to beat Dustin Rhodes. It shouldn't have taken him 15 minutes to beat Jeff Jarrett. Like, no. I understand these guys' places in history. I'm appreciative that they can still go at a level that they have no business going at their ages. Like, I understand. But at the same time, come on. MJF should have a much easier time with Dustin Rhodes than he did last night. But with that being said, I thought the match was really good. I loved the Shattered Dreams callback when he had him in the corner, and he did Shattered Dreams. He pulled out all the old stops. He did the final cut, Dustin Rhodes. It was really good. Then MJF did the final cut on Dustin, and then Dustin kicked out of his own finisher, which was good. And then he did Salt of the Earth, which I feel like, I don't know. Has Max been winning? I know he doesn't fight a lot, but has Max been winning matches with Salt of the Earth? I feel like he kind of moved on from that. Did he? Am I crazy? Did he beat Jarrett with it? Maybe I'm just not remembering. My mind is trash. But he applied
like that. I don't pay attention to what people finish moves with, really. Finish matches with, really. I'm just like, oh, the match is over, and I enjoyed the match, but I'm not like, oh yeah, he hit this move, and then he hit this move, you know. So I can't really tell you, honestly.
So he hits Salt of the Earth. He applies Salt of the Earth, and he has it on his arm for a long time. And Dustin is trying to crawl. He's trying to get out of it, and he goes, but Max pulls him back into the middle of the ring, and then he puts a crossface on him. And then it looks like Dustin Rhodes. And again, another thing about this was not only did this match go 15 minutes, but then it was like a referee stoppage. Like Dustin Rhodes couldn't tap out. He had to pass out to lose. It's like, okay. Like,
yeah, that also.
What are we doing?
Come on.
What are we doing? It's Dustin Rhodes, guys. What are we doing? But regardless of that, MJF wins by referee stoppage. And then post-match, Max locks the Salt of the Earth again, and he's wrenching it pretty deeply on Dustin Rhodes, who is basically unconscious. And Hangman shows up. They square up face-to-face. Max, does the thing where it looks like he's going to back down, and then he turns around and he takes down Hangman, and they brawl. Security gets out there. They pull them apart, and they're in the corners. Max gets away from security, jumps on Hangman. They start beating each other up. They break them out. They go to the floor. They brawl on the floor. They're going over the barricade. They're fighting. They're fighting in front of the fans. They're in the balcony. At one point, MJF, and then at one point, MJF looks like he's trying to throw Hangman like over one of the things in the balcony to into one of the alleyways to like where the concessions are. They get back to the ring. MJF gets on the mic. He calls Hangman a gutless coward. He says, you're a loser like everybody in this crowd. And then Hangman comes screaming down the aisle. They start brawling some more. And we go to break like they go to a commercial with these two still going at it. Loved it. I thought this was good. This is a feud that I'm ready for with MJF. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
He's been back for a few months. This I can sink my teeth into with him and Hangman. This to me are the two top. To me personally, these are the top two guys in the company to me. Hangman and MJF to me are 1 and 1A. I love Will Ospreay.
Mm-hmm.
I love Kenny Omega. To me, Hangman and MJF are the two biggest stars that AEW has homegrown up to be big stars. I know Hangman was in New Japan.
I think you can see it in the positioning of them right now.
Yes.
You can see that Hangman and MJF are on the rise. And not that Will and Kenny are falling. They're in their own lane right now. We're on a highway, and there's the 3 lanes. There's the Death Riders lane, there's the Hangman MJF lane, and then there's the Kenny Will lane and Don Callis family. There's these 3 lanes, and once they get to their destinations, then they'll jump lanes and they'll do whatever, as in typical wrestling storytelling. But yeah, like right now you can see that for I'll say at least until All In, Hangman and MJF are big deals in the company right now.
I would agree. We then had a squash match. Megan Bayne went against Maya World. She was kind of playing with her for a little bit, like kind of messing with her, like toying with her. But this was a squash match. She hits an F5. And she wins that one relatively easily. And then as Megan Bayne is kind of leaving, we have Chris Statlander make her entrance, and they kind of cross each other. And they have a little stare down there. And then it went into Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. I thought this was a good match.
I really like this match.
Yeah. Penelope Ford is one of those people that I know she was out for a bunch of time, but she's good. I would like to see her win matches every so often because I feel like she always loses these matches, which is fine. But she's good. So her and Statlander go back and forth. They have a really good match. And then towards the end, first of all, Penelope Ford hit a friggin' poison Rana on Chris Statlander in this match that ruled.
Yeah.
And then Statlander kind of right after that hits a lariat, and then she hits Night Fever, and she gets the win. But post-match, Drew, Megan Bayne comes back, and she hit an F5 on Statlander right around ringside, like on the ramp area. And, yeah, so it seems like we're getting Megan Bayne versus Chris Statlander, maybe as Megan Bayne's first real program in AEW, and I think that's a good one. They're both big, strong women, and they will have a physical match.
I feel like Megan will be good as a heel. I feel like it. I don't really know her that much, but just from the way they did that, I like that a lot. So I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, it was very good. And then we had, let me tell you, man. And I do want star of the show to me. We got a music video from Harley Cameron. So it's a music video. She has the Mercedes Moné puppet. I mean, I think Thunder Rosa gets involved. I don't know. To me, they're kind of doing, because on Collision, Penelope Ford pushed Statlander and Thunder Rosa into Megan. Like there was right, she pushed her into Megan, and now she took out Statlander.
Yeah,
I feel like Thunder Rosa is also, because she did do something with Thunder Rosa as well. So they're kind of giving Bayne multiple people, kind of. Unless they go unless they're going to try to lean into like a tag team or like a multiple women.
They're kind of like they're like intertwining things too. Like
yeah,
the men's.
Yeah, because Penelope Ford had a match with Thunder Rosa on Collision, and then after the match, she pushed Statlander and Thunder Rosa into Megan Bayne, and Megan Bayne attacked. Megan Bayne attacked Thunder Rosa on Collision. I think she hit her with the F5. And then last night she did Statlander. So it feels like, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I like that. We got some
I do too.
Feud situation.
I got no problem with that. So we get a music video from Harley Cameron. She's with her Mercedes Moné puppet. And it's kind of like one of those, like, she's rapping fast, she's singing, she's doing all that stuff. Very entertaining. And then about halfway through, she just goes, stop, stop, stop. And it turns into this promo. And Drew, this promo was my favorite thing on this show. She sits there and she goes, Mercedes, she goes, you're one of the best wrestlers alive. And she goes, and there was she goes, not that long ago, I didn't even know how to wrestle. She goes, but there was a time that I didn't know how to sing. I didn't know how to play guitar. I didn't know how to speak Chinese. And then she says a couple lines in Chinese.
Yeah, that was really cool. I like that.
Which was cool. And she goes, but I want to thank you for calling me a loser and pushing me to work hard. Oh, she mentioned how ventriloquism as well, because she can do that because she's a jack of all trades. True. And she thanks for Mercedes. She goes, thank you for calling me a loser and pushing me to work harder and inspiring me to be different, because that's enabled me to win the TBS championship on Saturday in my home country at Grand Slam when I beat you. And you could hear the crowd saying like, yeah,
we the want crowd that. Really wants it, honestly.
I want it.
And no,
it's not
going to
happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, I don't think, but I want it. I want it to happen. Listen. Oh, man. AEW has done a wonderful job when it comes to Harley Cameron. A wonderful job. Now, she's earned it. She's earned it because she was given very small stuff to start. And she, we always talk about, maximizing her minute. Like, she has knocked everything out of the park. So she has earned this by her work and what she's done here. But the way they have built her up, specifically in this last month this has been my favorite stuff in the company. Honestly. Like, I don't think I can remember them building up a wrestler like this organically in a while. Because you could go, 6 months ago, she was a nobody. She was in that group with, maybe a year ago, she was in that group with, what was his name? The guy that fought the Johnny. What's going on, man? Good to see you, brother.
QT Marshall's thing.
She was doing stuff like that a year ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like a year ago, Aaron Solo and her and QT, she was doing stuff like that. And then she was with Saraya, right? Wasn't she with Saraya for a little bit?
Yeah.
Or involved with that? And she was just, and again, every time we saw her on TV, she was making people laugh. She was doing good stuff, but she was really not important. And she started to get over and over and over with the crowd because we see how funny and talented, and she's really trying.
And she's really been like that since her start.
Yes.
She was slowly getting over, even in QTV.
Yeah.
Because she's the one, I don't know if you remember, she's the one that tried to ask out Anthony Bowen.
Yes.
I'm gay thing on Rampage, whenever it was.
Yeah.
So even since the QTV days, she was slowly starting to get over with the crowd. And I mean,
it's
so organically done that
I think they need to pull the trigger, Drew. I'm being honest with you.
I'm
100% being honest with you. I think now it's Mercedes. I would not bet on anything that Mercedes is going to lose on Saturday. I would not bet that at all. However, I feel like maybe need is strong. I actually don't think it is really, but I feel like they need to give her. I think she should win on Saturday. I really think she should. Mercedes can win it right back. Who cares? Or maybe Mercedes then.
A couple weeks away.
Yeah, or then maybe Mercedes then heads for the main title at some point, because I know Mercedes is also doing the bell collector gimmick. Like, I get it, but to me, I feel like you heard the crowd last night when she was talking. When that turned into a real promo, that crowd was bought in to every word that this woman was saying, and I was bought in to every word this woman was saying.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think I have to agree. I think that it's best to just do it. Pull the trigger right now, and that will very much.
You have a chance to make Harley. Like, you can make her.
You can make Harley Cameron, and that's a surprise that a lot of people who have kind of been falling out of love with AEW a little bit will be like, "Oh my god, that was one of the best decisions that could have been made."
Yeah, and like I look at this and I go, Mercedes has been performing at a level here lately where she's like one of the best in the world. She's got all these titles. She's clearly a top star in the company. You have Harley Cameron upset her in her home country with that pop and her winning that belt to legitimize her as a wrestler, I feel like that is a moment where you truly have an opportunity to make a star. You have an opportunity to make a legitimate, brand new star in your company. And I feel like it's time for Mercedes to head for the world title. I like the TBS title. I think it fit her character coming in and things like that. I think now she is at a point that Mercedes should be moving towards the heavyweight championship, the AEW Women's Heavyweight Championship. And what better way to do it than make somebody? And I just think it's the way to do it. I just think it's the way to do it. You know,
it's because it's not even just like it's out of nowhere, really. Like it may seem like it's out of nowhere for some people, but that Mercedes has even been like playing into the story way more like than just what a regular heel would just be like, I'm not giving you the time of day, whatever. But like this Mercedes Monet puppet is over. Like this is legitimately over. And she's helping promote it on Twitter too. She's sharing the images and trashing it. She doesn't have to do it.
Look, Mercedes is killing it and helping Harley Cameron get over. Like Mercedes is playing her part to a T.
Yeah.
And maybe this is one of those things where she doesn't win on Saturday. She comes close, and Mercedes kind of gains an ounce of respect for. I don't know how it works. I did see Fernando say Harley and Mercedes can be the Rock and Sock Connection 2.0. Maybe. I think Mercedes is a heel, though. I think Harley is like too over as a babyface for that to happen currently. But yeah, man, I just feel like, look it. And like, you know, Fernando, then he says Harley has no business beating Mercedes. Okay, fine. But at the same time, like the Hurricane has a pinfall victory over the Rock in his career.
1, 2, 3 Kid.
1, 2, 3 Kid beat Razor Ramon. Like it's wrestling, dude. It's wrestling like that. Who gives a shit? And I'm one of the biggest. I'm one of the biggest Mercedes marks there is. She's from my area. Like I'm not, maybe not a mark. I'm not one of those people that like attacks people if they don't like her. I think you're an idiot. But like, you know, whatever. But like, I am a Mercedes guy. But it's pro wrestling. Anybody can beat anybody if you book it right.
Biggest person on the roster can get defeated by the smallest person on the roster.
Yeah, and like it's wrestling, dude. It's not
one moment.
It's all it takes. One little roll up, one little distraction, one little something. What if Mercedes goes into this match underestimating Harley Cameron, which she probably will, and then you know what I mean, and then there you go. So that's what you're gonna do. So I don't know. I think they have, again, I don't know if they're going to do it. I just feel like they have an opportunity to really make
Fernando, I like you, but you're talking crazy right now.
Yeah, you're talking nuts. I'm not even going to talk about that last comment. That is foolish. That is a foolish comment. But yeah, I mean, I just think they have an opportunity. They have a real opportunity to make somebody. Yeah, Spike Dudley and ECW was a good one too. That's a good one, Scott. Spike Dudley and ECW would beat people that he had no business beating all the time. Like if you book it right and you do it right, it can work. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it on Saturday. I don't know. But if they do, you got a made person in Harley Cameron. You got a made person. And again, she doesn't have to keep it. She could lose it at Revolution 2 weeks later back to Mercedes or to somebody else. It doesn't matter. But, you know, the momentum that Harley Cameron has, I feel like that's something you don't want to put a blanket over the fire. You want to let that thing keep blazing. You know what I mean? And then we were at our main event, Drew. It was for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. It was the champions, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin going up against the Guns, the Ass Boys, Austin and Colton Gunn. Good main event. I'll tell you what. The Guns, who would have thought? You know what I mean? Like I know when the Guns joined the Bullet Club Gold or whatever what they were back then before they became the Bang Bang Gang. I know you and I were very high on that, and we were all, and you and I were
a
like,
lot of
that's a
people were
perfect
shitting
fit
on them.
Oh yeah, because a lot of people shit on the Guns. Because when the Guns first got there, they weren't the best. They weren't as good as they are now, for sure. But like a lot of people really had that hatred or that like, you know, the Guns kind of feel with them. But you and I, again, and I'm not talking pre Bullet Club, but once they joined the Bullet Club, I know you and I were on here and we were very positive. We were like, that's a good fit for them. Like, that's a good fit because they're going to be like, they're going to be not the main guys of the group, but they're going to be able to shine and show their humor. And like, I think this is going to work for them. And it did work for them. And then they became tag champs and then they went away. And then they came back was it last week or 2 weeks ago? They came back last week. Yeah. So they came back last week to a good pop. The crowd was in it. And then they had a world tag title match. And it was a good match, man. And the crowd was in it. And it was a good match by two teams that the crowd actually, I don't think the crowd was really booing either team here. I think the crowd kind of liked both teams. It was really good. It was really, really good. But at the end of the day, as we are to expect, the Hurt Syndicate did get the victory. Shelton Benjamin did a lateral press on Austin Gunn for the victory. But it was a good little, technically this was the main event match, but things happened after. I mean, we're not going to talk about the main event segment because we kind of talked about that at the beginning of the show. But this was the main event match of the evening. It was a very good one. The Hurt Syndicate retain the tag titles. Johnny, I agree with you. Austin Gunn is very entertaining. I do see a singles run for him down the line for sure. I see Billy. Okay, here's the you know what's weird? You have the Guns, right? I feel like Colton Gunn physically looks more like Billy, but Austin Gunn has the charisma and has the personality of Billy. Does that make sense?
That is very good analysis right there. I agree
you know
with
what I'm saying? Yeah, I feel like when I see Colton, I'm like, that's Billy Gunn. Like, that's Smoking Gun's Billy Gunn. That's what he looks like to me. Was the young Smoking Gun Billy Gunn. But Austin Gunn has the personality and the voice and the like that. They both got a mixture of their dad. And they put it together and they have this good tag team, this good shtick.
That's very well done.
That's what I see when I look at the Guns. But after this match, Drew, the Hurt Syndicate are in the ring, and we see Brian Cage and Lance Archer walk out of the tunnel, and they have a stare down. So it seems like we might be getting that match for the tag titles. That might be their next opponents, which, let me tell you, that is some meat. That'll be a meaty match right there.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. But
really, are you kidding me? That match will rule. That match will rule. That match will rule. Stop.
It'll be good.
I don't know why people.
I'm not saying. I don't know why people don't
like. I don't know why people don't like Brian Cage. It really infuriates me how people don't appreciate
no,
Brian Cage.
I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying that I'm not. I just don't see him as going after the tag team champions right now. That's all. But I like him.
That's fair. I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I think that for like again, the Hurt Syndicate aren't losing these belts anytime soon.
It feels. You know what the problem is? I think in our last few minutes here, the big discussion that we need to be having is the downfall of the tag division in this company. When ironically, one of their best tag teams is currently tag team champion in a very, very short amount of time that the Hurt Syndicate has been there.
Yeah.
Like those are the guys that you want as your tag champions. Yep. Unfortunately, they are the champions, and really it's been since it's like in the Private Party to Hurt Syndicate tag team runs, title runs, that the division just seems directionless right now. Like, there's just this is why I really have a problem with Lance Archer and Brian Cage. It's just sort of like all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, so we had a 2-week feud with these guys, and now here come these random guys, and then we're gonna have a 2-week feud with these guys, and then here come these random guys, you know, and then the afterwards are gonna be after them, and then it's just gonna be like that's what it's kind of felt like since Private Party won with the division.
Yeah.
So, and I really was upset about Private Party's run because they did not get the run that they deserved after winning those titles.
Yeah.
Biased Brooklyn boy, right here, but it's really been like since I want to say Wrestle Dream that the tag division has just been directionless, and that was like that's crazy to think because that used to be the number one division in AEW, and just for like
Well, that's what in the chat right here. I'll show say. Sorry if I said that wrong. He says that's so crazy because I remember at one point in time AEW was considered the place if you wanted to see good tag team wrestling.
Yeah, FTR, Young Bucks, Private Party.
Yeah, the problem is those teams, not the Bucks right now, but those teams are all still there. They're all still there. It's not like they left the company. They could easily just be.
But some teams are no longer there or no longer teams.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Santana and Ortiz, for example, were very
well. That was one of the all-time big gaffes in AEW history. In AEW history, was not making Santana and Ortiz tag champs. That is a joke, an absolute
Kenny and
joke.
Hangman were tag team and the tag team champs at one point. They were a hot tag team, but they tried to make it work with some people like Kenny and Jericho, and God help us, that was awful. And others that have just not had that like oomph, the tag division. While there are great tag teams there, Top Flight, for example, they Dark Order used to be a fun tag team on television that just doesn't get on television anymore.
Yeah,
there's just so many people out there that don't get the push that for as long as they've been there and as much as they've entertained millions of people, they just don't get that push that they deserved. Dark Order should have been tag champions. Private Party should have been tag champions a long time ago.
Yeah,
I agree. But it just like bounced around between, and kudos to them as well, but it just really kind of bounced around between FTR and the Young Bucks a little too much. And it just, it's not been at the heights that it once was. And that's really unfortunate. And hopefully we've got Hurt Syndicate now as tag champs, and everyone loves them as tag champs, but the division itself needs a big, big boost in creative, because this tag team feud for 2 weeks, lose the match, next tag team feud, lose the match, like it's just very directionless. And if we get like a tournament going for like a number one contendership again, make it really kind of mean something instead of just throwing random people at them, would be nice.
I agree with Johnny though. He said that he thinks Hurt Syndicate is giving the titles credibility again. And I agree. I think they are. And I think them winning, and I get it. Like, yeah, we want long-term, like juicy feuds and things of that nature. But I think them being the champs and being so over as the champs and them defending the titles often and winning, I do think that gives credibility, not only to obviously them as a team, but it gives credibility to the tag team championships. So whenever they do have that team, that is going to be that team. Like, and I think somebody mentioned the Hounds of Hell. That's a team.
Yeah, there's another good team. Right.
Why not? If you're telling me that, hey, we're going to have the Hurt Syndicate run through 4 or 5 tag teams over the next couple months and small mini feuds and just dominate and look unbeatable, and then all of a sudden it's the Hounds of Hell versus the Hurt Syndicate for the tag team titles at Double or Nothing and at the end of May, sign me the fuck up. You know what I mean? So there's a positive and negative to it. Like, I do agree, like, jumping from team to team, it feels like that's how WWE used to book their shit all the time, where it was like, okay, you know,
yeah,
I'm not thinking of the right, like, pop in place, or I'm not thinking of the right thing, but you know what I mean? Like, you know, oh, you're out. Okay, let's remove you. Okay, you're in now. Okay, yep, you're out. Okay, let's remove you. Okay, now you're in. Like, I understand how that feels, but at the same time, I do think this is building credibility to the Hurt Syndicate and to the title. So down the line, when we do get to that, hopefully, when we do get to that team or that story that we're kind of itching for, it'll mean a little bit more. Because before the Hurt Syndicate got these titles, unfortunately, and again, and this is not a private party thing, but before they got these titles, that they were even on the Bucks, they weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything with these belts. They were just on the Bucks for no reason. It just felt very odd. But we'll see. Then the last thing we got to talk about on Dynamite before we kind of run through the Grand Slam thing real quick is there was a Mariah May promo right after this tag match. She says that Toni Storm should have died in August.
In the room. Oh no, sorry, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. He says Toni Storm should have died in August, but then she never did know when to stop. She said beating her in Australia isn't the worst thing she could do to her because she could lose and disappear and watch people realize that Mariah May did it better. And then she says, I guess I really do love Toni after all, because on Saturday, this is going to be a mercy killing. And that's how that little promo ended. And then obviously the end of the show, we talked about at the beginning. So we're not going to dive into the end segment again. So let's dive into Grand Slam, and let's actually start there. I do feel like this will be the main event of the show. Mariah May versus Toni Storm, timeless Toni Storm. So we'll start with the main event. It was a fire promo, Fernando. I thought it was a great promo from Mariah May. Great. It's Mariah May defending against timeless Toni Storm in Australia, Toni's home country. Do you think do you think Toni Storm leaves Australia?
Yes.
As the AEW Women's World Champion?
I was going back and forth on it, but I think she does win.
Okay. I'm torn. My thing is,
I understand. I understand being torn. Absolutely.
My thing is, when it comes to Mariah May, like, it makes all the sense in the world that Toni would get it, right? It's in her home country. She just came back as timeless Toni Storm. It's a fire feud still.
It's going to be the first time we hear the music again, too.
It makes all the sense in the world that Toni Storm would win this belt in her home country. And that's what I would probably think is going to happen. However, even though Mariah May has been the champion since August, I feel like Mariah May doesn't have any signature victories as the champion. Since her signature victory was beating Toni for the title.
And Mina Shirakawa.
That was a good one. But again, I still don't think that's a signature. It was a good match, yes, and she retained. I don't think that Mariah May has had a signature victory as champion. And I think her beating Toni Storm in her home country would be a signature victory.
Well, because I think you can also equate what we were talking about to the tag team division to the main, the top of the women's division for the women's world championship, because the TBS championship really has been booked better than the world championship, I would say. And like Private Party and Young Bucks, Mariah was really just floundering around, getting random person.
Yeah.
So, I would say and this is why I think Toni should win. I think, kind of cleansing, not the stink, because I don't think that Mariah as champion was necessarily bad.
No, I don't think so.
But I feel like having Toni win, not just because it's her home state and, that's going to just be absolutely, the crowd's going to go crazy for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it kind of lets you reset the division a little bit, and Mariah,
You
doesn't
think
have
that
to
this
just
ends
be
though?
involved with that.
You think this ends? If Tony beats her, you think that they're 1-1?
Probably not. I would
Yeah.
say probably not.
Yeah.
But maybe they do a rematch at Revolution.
Yeah. Because Mariah won in her home country and All In. Now Tony has a chance to win it back in her home country.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't
in
even think
Australia.
About
that. And then they have to have a rubber match at some point, right? I don't know.
I didn't think
It all
about
depends.
So, yeah.
It all depends. It all depends. Again, right now, if I was a betting man, I would bet on Tony. Obviously, it's her home country. It will be the main event. I think that's a moment that AEW will, that'll be a big moment if she wins it in her home country like that. To me, and again, like I'm not downplaying, and I saw somebody in the chat say the meanest. I'm not downplaying that match with Mina. I'm just saying when you look at Mariah May's title reign since August, there are not many signature or big time victories. There are not. And I feel like her beating Toni Storm again would be a sign, you know what I mean? And then, again, I don't think it will happen. I think Tony will win, but I am torn. I am torn on it. We then have Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega going up against the Don Callis family, Fletcher and Takeshita. This match is going to be incredible. Incredible. But I would be shocked if Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega don't win this match, Drew. I will be shocked. Shocked. Unless Mark Davis.
No, I can see it. I can see it going both ways.
Because Kyle is Australian, Mark Davis. Unless Mark Davis gets involved, maybe. Or something like the Callis family does some bullshit, which could obviously happen because that is a very Callis family thing to do.
I don't know. This could go both ways, honestly.
It's Kenny Omega's first match. Like, is it you gonna have Kenny Omega lose in his return match to AEW? Basically, you're gonna have him lose. I don't think it hurts Kenny Omega if he does. He's Kenny fucking Omega,
right?
But you know what I mean. But like I could see Mark Davis turning on Will, and that's how potentially. But I don't know. I do think this tag match. Fernando says it'll be a match of the year candidate. It's going to be very good. It's going to be. These four guys are incredible.
Yeah.
So it is going to be quite good. It is going to be quite good. But I'm picking Ospreay and Kenny. I can't. I can't think otherwise. We then have another tag match. Yeah,
I guess I would pick them too. Yeah.
I just can't see him losing. We have another tag match. It is the Brisbane Brawl. It is Jay White and Adam Copeland against the Death Riders, Jon Moxley and Claudio. This is no rules, no holds barred. Who do you think's winning, Drew? You think the numbers game helps the Death Riders?
I'm going to say yes. Yeah, I think Death Riders win.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning, although I could see them giving Adam Copeland the win to kind of make it seem like, oh, Moxley might be in trouble at Revolution type of thing, maybe. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing where he gets a win, and then everyone's like, oh, but I think the Death Riders are going to win. I think the Death Riders are going to win that one. All right. We then have a singles match for the AEW Continental Championship. This is a sleeper match. Could be the best match of the night. Cobra, I'm not 100% against that. I do think there's a chance that Jay White does turn on Adam Copeland at some point in this thing.
I didn't think about that.
However, I do like Jay White as a good guy, though. I do like Jay White as a good guy.
Yeah, I feel like we gotta continue that for a little bit longer,
Yeah. But I think this match has potential to be sleeper of the night. It is for the Continental Championship. It will be Kazuchika Okada going one-on-one with Buddy Matthews. Home country Buddy Matthews. This is going to rule. This is going to rule. However, Okada's winning this. Okada's winning this. He's keeping his title. But this match is going to steal the show, I think. Him and Buddy. I think this match has potential to be match of the night. But I think Okada keeps it. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I feel like it's unfortunate because I do like what they're doing now with Hounds of Hell, and I kind of feel like it's still Okada's still the guy.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. Hold on a sec, yo. Jesus. And then, we just talked about this match. It's the last match on the card. Singles match for the AEW TBS Championship. Cobra, I would agree with you. Okada's not losing that title to anybody other than Kenny Omega, most likely. I feel like that is probably a correct statement.
Right.
So that is probably a right. Yes, you are probably right there, my friend. TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné, the champ, versus Harley Cameron. If I had to pick, and because I want to be right, I'm going to pick Mercedes. But man, I think they got an opportunity here. I know we just talked. I think they got an opportunity here, Drew, to make somebody. I think they got an opportunity here to make somebody. But I'm going
to do the thing. I'm going to pick Harley Cameron.
I don't hate you. I don't hate you for doing it. I don't hate you for doing it. I really don't. I don't hate you for doing it. I would love to see it. I think that would be the surprise of the night, which would be very fun. I agree with you, Scott. Do it, you cowards. Do it. Why not? Who cares? Does it hurt Mercedes at all? Nope. Not at all. Does it make somebody? Absolutely. So that's how I feel about it. Again, a killer card. That's 5 really, really good matches. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. And every single match except for one match has somebody from Australia in it, which is pretty cool. Which is pretty cool. I know Jay White is technically New Zealand, which is like right next to Australia. So like it's kind of like a neighboring country of Australia, but he's technically not Australian. But Timeless Tony Storm, Kyle Fletcher, Buddy Matthews, Harley Cameron. They're all from Australia. They're all focused on this card. Everyone except Fletcher is going for a title on this card. I think that's pretty cool that they had this in Australia and they really focused on their Australian talent. I think that's pretty cool. And even the Jay White thing being so close with New Zealand, I feel like they have like basically that area of the world is represented in every one of these matches, which I think is cool. Right. And yeah, so we'll see. Honestly, I think it's going to be a really, really great show. I'm very interested to see the Harley Cameron Mercedes Moné match because I want to see what they do. I want to see what they do there. But all right, y'all, that's going to be it for us. We're going to be getting out of here. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for all the likes and for supporting the show. Thank you for the super chats earlier, Sunday Sinner and Ryan Sullivan. Appreciate you guys. Cobra, we talked about it a little earlier. I thought it was going to be Darby for the longest time, but now I think it should be Hangman Adam Page. I think they should build.
Cosign.
I think they should build to the point where it's Hangman that does it. But I thought it was going to be Darby for a super long time. I thought it was going to be Darby. Fernando, we'll have to see. I talked about that at the top too. Like, I'm hoping Grand Slam gets good viewership, but there's a chance that shit ain't starting until after midnight on Saturday. So it's going to see. I mean, listen, we'll have to see because the NBA Saturday night goes a long time and it's going to be at least probably 11 or, later that it airs. So we're going to have to see, but it should be a good show. Anyways, we will be back. Pay attention to our socials. I'm on a little bit of a mini vacation next week, so I am not around next Tuesday or Thursday. So Drew will be manning the ship. So pay attention to our socials with news, whether we're having guests or Drew soloing it or whatever. Just pay attention to the Firmly LW on the X and our personal social accounts, which we'll plug right now. And we'll have some news and stuff like that. But we will be back next week. Drew, do your thing, plug your stuff, and then we'll get out of here, man.
Yes. Well, aside from being a pickle aficionado, you can find me at the Drew Nicholas on Twitter and on Blue Sky, and Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast with the Thorn in my side, who also I can't call a thorn today because he helped support us, Sunday Sinner. Thank you very much for that. And I'll figure out what the hell I'm doing next week.
Fair enough. Scott says, God forbid, move it to TBS and interrupt the Star Wars showings. I don't think they want anything big going against the NBA. I don't think it has anything to do with like the channels or anything like that. I just don't think that TBS or Warner Brothers, whatever, I don't think they want a big wrestling show to be going against what is really one of their signature NBA nights of the year. So I think it's more of that than the channel, if that makes sense. But yes, you can follow me at JPJ Loves Gaming on all social media platforms, including Twitch and YouTube. You can find me here, like I said at the top, every Tuesday and Thursday morning with Drew. We talk WWE on Tuesdays. We talk AEW on Thursdays. And you can also find me here every Thursday night, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the flagship show here at Love Wrestling. Me and Pluggo between two beards. We have the great Riccacino joining us this evening. He was at the Royal Rumble with us. We're gonna chat. We're gonna chat some of that experience, and we're gonna preview some Vengeance Day. NXT has a big pay-per-view on Saturday. Ricky Starks showed up at NXT on Tuesday, which was unexpected. I mean, not unexpected that he showed up. They did not waste any time. They did not waste any time. I thought he was showing up on Saturday, but they were like, nope, day after. We don't care. We're not waiting around. But yeah, we got Riccacino joining Pluggo and I tonight. That should be a fun one. Like I said, pay attention to the socials about how next week is going to go. But yeah, support us here at Love Wrestling, all that fun stuff. Be on the lookout for some LPW interviews coming up soon. You might see me interviewing some champions in LPW and things of that nature. So yeah, but for Drew, for myself, appreciate everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will see y'all real soon. And until then, you know the drill. Peace out.